It's now time for the Eld Henderson Real News Show, Organize, Don't Criticize, which airs each Wednesday evening from 6 o'clock p.m. until 7 o'clock p.m. here on WMPR. We now take you to Studio B for the Eld Henderson Real News Show, Organize, Don't Criticize with Dr. Henderson.
Hello, everybody. This is the Eld Henderson's Real News Show, Organize, Don't Criticize. I want to tell you, folks, I want you to buy my book by the same title, Organize, Don't Criticize, at Amazon.com. You need to learn how to pool your resources, build coalitions, and promote unity with self, family, and community. Your life will change in 30, 60, or 90 days, guaranteed. Organize, Don't Criticize, Amazon.com. That's the book of the century. Buy it today. Hello, everyone. Again, this is Eld Henderson from Bolton, Mississippi. I'm proud to be with you again, folks. And I want to thank all the listeners and the viewers that's emailing and calling and giving me support and non-support about the things I say on this show. Some people have said public. I don't know whether that's good or not, but we're not going to work. But we are not going to do anything but keep on doing it until things pop back right. So let's tell you something that's new. Folks, I don't want to do it, but I will do it anyway. Last week, I got so many calls about, we were talking about World War III, Part 1, Part 2, and this third component, which is Part 3 of current World War. I told you last week we have about 20, no, I believe it's 32 nations now, it was 27, I believe last week, about 32 different nations that are involved in the American, U.S., Israeli, and Iraq war right now. And a lot of so-called splitter groups that some people call terrorist groups, others call them liberation groups, on and on and on. In all, there's about 47 different groups and nations involved. And that's just today, the latest research. Now, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I guarantee you it won't be getting better tomorrow. And the problem we have, folks, and I didn't want to scare you last week because I've been talking about this for the last 30 years, that sooner or later, with all these arrogant politicians throughout the world, we're going to have some major problems similar to what we had in 1945 when we had a big bombing in Japan. We were losing, some people say, losing World War II in certain areas of the world. And we finally said, so many people are dying and we can't go on forever. We don't have the resources we need. The money's getting short here in the world, and especially in the Western world. We got to end this war one way or the other. And the United States said, we're going to just kill folks. And they dropped a bomb, we call it an atomic bomb, in Japan in 1945. Then there was surprise, a great surprise to the world. The United States at that time was the only one with what we call the first atomic bomb. And then the Soviet Union got themselves together and finally tested theirs 4 years later. And some of you don't want to hear this kind of stuff, but I'm letting you know what happens in the past is going to be progressively worse in the future. And as I tell you and been telling you for some time, you are not going to have any peace in this world during your lifetime. And look at the progression here. And then in 1952, the United Kingdom got their bomb together. followed by France in 1960. And then China in 1964 got their bombs together. And I want you to keep in mind too, and this is sort of a secret right now, but it used to be controlled secret, where the experts believe that Israel was first tested their bomb in the late 1960s. And then you had India in 1972, Pakistan in 1998, and North Korea in 2006. So folks, experts been wondering what's going to happen to this world. My job is to tell you what's going to happen. And I've been telling you for a long time. And now they are saying that some of the allies of the United States are not believing strongly in what the United States will do for them. So they are thinking about getting their own nuclear bomb. Allies such as Egypt, Japan, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, and Turkey. And I done told you, when you have everybody and their cousin with these nuclear bombs, they are going to be used, and oftentimes it's going to be by accident. Somebody's going to drop it. When you have 47 different nations and groups that are playing around with it, all of them don't have them, but if you have one, somebody will figure out how to take it from you. So I'm going to tell you that the Allies now are really focusing on the limited U.S. security guarantee, where they don't believe that if they get in trouble, the United States will come to their behalf and fight for them. So I'm telling you, folks, get ready, because your life will change. And since we know we have good news too, we are going to just show you and tell you that because of international affairs going on in a negative manner, there are some great things going on internationally throughout the world. Now, I'm not going to name any. It'll take about 2 minutes to name them. So I'm not going to take 2 minutes to name the good things that are going on internationally. But you will be surprised to know that all good news is a barrel of bad news. And I want you to keep in mind that we are not the first to fight and kill at will. This is something that's been going on in ancient times. Man has always fought each other. Man has always had themselves in a position where they wanted to take what the neighbors had. Land, people, resources, you name it. And there's nothing going to change, no matter how many religions we have in the world, nor who the president is. So stop condemning people that are carrying on the way they carry on, because some say they don't know any better. I say that they do know better, because they want to keep things in their favor. That's what we're looking at today, folks. And that's why we're not going to talk about it very much today. Since some of you all are scared now and you don't know what to do, we'll tell you what to do later on. But we're going to take a break in just a few minutes and introduce our guest. We have a guest today, a local person with a great resume of productive activity. And we want to have an easygoing session with this person. And they are going to talk to you about some things they want you to do for them. But before we go into break, I want you to understand that we have a faithful listener. I met a man today named Mr. Tim Moore. He's highly skilled professional. Mr. Tim Moore, he's a professional drywall man. I call him a man, strong man, has great ideas. And I talked to Mr. Tim Moore, and he was giving me some advice on certain things. And I tell you, I'm going to give him a job as one of my advisors. So if you all know Mr. Tim Moore, you call him and say, I heard about you on WMPR. You on the Eld Henderson Real News Show. Organize, don't criticize. So let's take a break, and we're going to have our guest to come forward. And hold on, folks, we'll be back.
Plan today, protect tomorrow. Life is full of uncertainties, but your family's future doesn't have to be. Having life insurance, a will, and a trust in place is one of the most powerful acts of love and responsibility you can give to your loved ones. Life insurance provides financial security for your family when they need it most. Will ensures your wishes are honored and your assets go where you intend. Trust offers added protection and peace of mind by safeguarding your legacy. Don't wait until it's too late. Start preparing today so your family is protected tomorrow. Need guidance? Contact Dr. Eldridge Henderson at 601-201-11957 to learn more about how to get started. Dr. Henderson is available for speaking engagements. Like and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Now back to our show.
All right, folks, we're back. We're back on WMPR, 90.1 FM radio station. And we want you to understand that we now will go in version number 2 and have our guest, a local person, that's going to be talking to you about politics in a judge's, from a judge's perspective. You know, judges don't believe in politics. They are people-centered individuals that's supposed to be in office promoting fairness. And our person today, great lady, I've been reviewing her bio and been hearing about her for years. And I find that this candidate that's running for the judgeship in Hinds County is a little different than the average person. And that's why we are interviewing Judge Tremetris F. Hargis today. She is ready to take a position, again, if you all elect her, to be the Chancellor Clerk Judge in District 3, I believe. Now, I might say anything, as you know, and her job is to straighten me out if I get something wrong.
Yeah, we got to straighten out first.
Let's do it.
Judge Tremetris
Okay.
E. Hodges.
Oh, E. Hargis.
Yes, sir. E as an elephant. Also, I am the current Chancery Court Judge
That's
for
correct.
Sub-District 3.
That's right.
So I've been serving since 2022, well, since 2023, January 1, 2023, but I was elected and officially sworn in December 29th of 2022.
All right. Look like you're a great fit for that job, because I've looked at what you're supposed to be doing as a judge, and we found that you have commitments to mentally disabled and domestic family matters. That's one of your responsibilities. You deal with adoptions, alimony, child custody, divorce, property division, estate and of descendants, equity appeal, and land issues. That's a lot of things to do. And I'm just going to ask you an old question that I shouldn't ask. Now, do you know a lot about all these areas, man?
I do. And the areas that I do not know about, it's a great thing that under the rules, in order to become a judge or to run for judge, you have to at least have been an attorney for 5 years.
5 years.
And so I would have at least had some type of formal training during the 5 years, but I didn't run after 5 years. I ran after 12 years because the position came open at that time. But during those 12 years, I a diverse legal background. My portfolio is very diverse. So I started out at Morgan & Morgan, championing the rights of injured workers. And so I represented the injured workers. So people first. Morgan & Morgan, they are known for being for the people. And that's exactly what I did. And then I left Morgan & Morgan, opened up my own law firm, representing children and families in family law courts across the state of Mississippi. And so also after that, prioritizing safety for the citizens of Hinds County at the District Attorney's Office here in Hinds County. So I have quite a portfolio.
I guarantee you, we know you didn't say it all. We researched your portfolio, man.
Okay.
We know so much about you, and we don't want to talk at all because folks would say, well, she is too qualified to be down at the Chancery Court. She ought to be in the Supreme Court. So next time, when you get ready to run for a higher office, you come back and we'll talk about some of those other things.
Okay.
Now, let's look at this profile. Now, your profile is a little different. You know, I told the audience, our viewers and listeners, you know, we're going all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
All over the world. We get comments from all over the world. They send us comments in languages I never seen some of that kind of writing. I don't know what they'll say. And we're going to get a little device here, some kind of AI document, and it's going to read all those foreign languages and tell us what it is in English. So we're working on that now. Now, understand that you are a daughter of Jackson, Mississippi, and you are what we call a public school advocate. So put those two together and tell us why people say that about you.
Well, I'm born and raised right here in Jackson. So got my start living on the corner of Abraham Lincoln and Flag Chapel, where I started out at John Hopkins Elementary School, kindergarten portion of first grade. But then we moved to a small neighborhood known as Prosperity. So I lived at 2566 Williamson Avenue, across from the then boarded up Jackson Mall. So it was the boarded up Jackson Mall at that time, and where I attended Walton Elementary School and Rowan Middle School. So I am from the heart, the inner city of Jackson.
That's right. Now, you heard me talking about World War III, Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 that's going on. So I'm familiar with that old area before they put up that medical mall. You were in a war zone. Would you consider that at that time, or you were so young you didn't know it?
Well, I knew that the area was lacking, but the area was still holding on a lot better
Holding
than
on.
it was now.
Mhm.
A lot of those businesses were on Livingston Street, like the Snooty Fox, the Wendy's, the Popeyes, the hair store, all of those businesses were vibrant and up and running. Those other fast food places running along on Woodrow Wilson, they were up and running, and so even the restaurants and other small mom and pops on Bailey, all those were still up and going. But now, when I visit the area a lot, because I do represent that area as Hinds County Chancery Court Judge, that's part of my area, Georgetown, I see that we've lost a lot of the businesses
Now,
in the area.
Judge, before we get into that part and ask additional questions, why did you think that happened? You talked about all those thriving businesses that we had at that time. I'm familiar with all of them. I've been around here a long time. What happened to those businesses? What did the people do? Where did they go? When a business disappears, the people are still there. What happened to the people? Where did they go?
I could speculate, but I don't spend my time speculating. I know that as an arbiter and also as an attorney, I don't spend time speculating. So businesses leave areas for a whole host of reasons.
That's right. And you don't want to talk about it, and I don't blame you, because I'm here to interview you to be a winner in your Chancery Clerk position.
Chancery Court Judge.
Okay, Judge. That's right. You're currently.
Look,
Miss
Eddie Jean Carr is the Hinds County Chancery Court Clerk.
She is. Great lady, great lady. But now I want to tell you that let's look at what you have done previously in that position. You had some good years already, and you are doing well. You want to run again. So let's talk about that. What are some of those significant contributions you have made as you see it during the last time you were in office?
Okay, so I'm finishing up my first term. And so during my first term, I've worked to ensure efficiency. When I was a practicing attorney, I like any other attorney, when you work for yourself, you got to make money, meaning you eat what you're killing. Can't kill anything if you're sitting around in the courthouse all day waiting to be heard. And so what I've done is ensure that my docket is in true time, meaning if your case only takes 30 minutes, we put that down for a 30-minute slot. We know if it takes an hour. We know if you're going to need a half day or a full day or 2 days. I know these things because of my experience and my background as a family law attorney. So my docket runs in true time, and that also gives people a sufficient amount of time to be heard. Now, of course, there are times when things do run over, and so I'm very gracious. So if we set it for a half a day, but they're arguing so well and want to keep fighting, we'll go a full day, or we'll go 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. It just depends on what the issue is and the parties wanting to finalize it. I believe in finality, and in Chancery Court, we can never talk about, oh, we have 5,000 cases and we closed out 5,000 cases, because the cases are never over. The cases are all deal with family, because it's a family law court. And so we know, like, think about it in real life. If a family is arguing today, right now, what's today, March 18th?
That's correct.
I guarantee you, by Halloween, they'll be arguing again.
That's right.
Or by the Christmas, arguing again. So that's how the cases go at Chancery Court. They're never over. Someone's going to come back because someone is upset about something. So we can never talk about how many cases we closed out. So I always like to go from the standpoint of efficiency. Now, have I closed out my share of cases while being on the bench? Of course I have. But we know cases concerning family will soon come back open if the parties cannot agree. That's why I never talk about how many cases I closed, but I have closed a great deal of cases. And what has contributed to that is when the AOC, which is the Administrative Courts, Administrative Office of Courts, they wanted all the courts across the state, circuit and chancery and county, to go in, review their caseloads, and close out, clean up old cases from the docket. And so I thought that was a good idea, because that allowed me to see what all cases I had out there and what's going on. And with that, when I noticed that I had a lot of conservatorships that were open and a lot of estates that were open from way back in the 80s, the 90s, during Judge Owens' time, what I did, I ensured that those persons came in, gave a status on the case, or talked to us about we discussed ways to get those matters closed for the family. Because sometimes there are families out there, their attorney may not be doing what they should be doing for the family. And the family may be sitting around waiting on the attorney. When you're paying, you might want to call them up and say, hey, I need you to give me a status or do something for me. It's a two-way street, no doubt. But that helped me put some fire on the attorneys to say, hey, let's get some matters closed out. And I do that often now. So I don't wait on the ALC. I now do it periodically.
Yeah, because even if you have a family dispute, if family A wins, family B doesn't, you're exactly right. That mother or father, the son or daughter are going to come back in a few weeks, a few months with another case.
Yes.
And here you go again. Now, I know, too, that you had some change in events in your early life. And we noticed that you were involved in the foster care systems. I know some people have heard it before, but I want people to hear you again and understand that having a lot of excuses about what happened to you and your family, that's why I am where I am, they say. Well, I had these problems in the family. I couldn't do very much. Talk about some of the events that led you into this foster system, if they are not too sensitive.
Yeah. Early on, when we were living in Presidential Hills, my brother and I, we went into foster care. Things were not right in our home. That was quite a devastating experience for me as a child. I can still remember and see vividly in my mind me and my brother being in the car with the caseworker saying, we're going to take you all to go eat. And me saying, well, you're going to take me back to mom? You're going to take me back to my mom? And her saying no, and me and my brother waving bye to our mom as she was, in the car with my Aunt Katie going in the opposite direction. That's still, heartbreaking to this day to have been in that position as a child. Then returning back home only for things to still not be perfect, but children love their parents no matter what, and they want to be with them because an alternative is a scary alternative. But luckily, the Lord had his way, and my 7th grade teacher and I, though we never talked a lot while when I was in her class, but I was a good student. I wasn't one of those kids at Rowan who tried to take over class. I was one of those kids that was talkative, because that's what smart kids do. They want to talk, and well, really, you ain't got to be a smart kid. You just a socialite.
That's right.
So as a social butterfly, I love to talk and hang out with people, and that's what I did. But I also did my work as well. And one day I approached her about attending Piney Woods because I heard about Piney Woods through one of my friends who lived on the same street. And afterwards, it's like magically one day she showed up at my home. And I say magically one day because she did. She showed up that summer during the time of this great time of need I had. She did not know I was going through transition, that DHS was in the process of about to remove us again for the second time. And so when she showed up, that was my saving grace. And I just wholeheartedly believe that was truly the hand of God putting her in my life. And she and her husband, they had always helped kids over the years. But when they brought me in, it just seemed so different for them because they actually brought me to live into their home, made sure I got to attend Piney Woods School. They provided the funds for that. They took care of me like I was their own child. And they taught me a lot of responsibility. When I became of working age, I went out, got my first job working at TJ Maxx, one that just closed off County Line Road. And then they ensured I got into college. I didn't go to Jackson State. They were Jackson State Tigers. I ended up going to a PWI, predominantly white institution, but it was free. And so
scholarship?
Free scholarship. I had a full ride. So I took very much advantage of that. But then I came back home, went to law school. They offered me my old room back, but I said, you know what? No.
Wait, at home?
Yes, at home. I said I want to, try to maintain some independence and continue to, live on my own. But when I had struggles in law school, like my car breaking down, they were there helping, making sure I got my first car purchase, which is the red Camry that I still have to this day.
Excellent.
Yeah, which is crazy. It's wild every time I look at that car. And that's one of the reasons why people always come up and say, you need to sell me that car. And I'm like, if you just knew the story behind this vehicle, no.
Well, that's a great story. That's why we were very impressed when we looked at we call it in some quarters, the resume. Your information was a little different. You know, a lot of people that are in the law profession didn't have to go through a lot of struggles.
No.
And those that didn't do anything in school. I mean, most of them. And then here you are, went through those struggles. You had a chance to still lay low, get your lesson. And even though you were not seeking a lot of outside support, I know you had a lot of private issues, but people noticed you. And this family gave you an opportunity. Now tell me basically, where are those folks now? I want to know about that.
They are still in my life.
Now that is excellent.
Yes, the Crockett's, Doctors Mamie and Walter Crockett, they are still in my life. Their children are still in my life because they had 4 children who were all grown. They had one daughter who was at home who was tending Jack State at the time. She was finishing a biology major. And we became pretty close. And I'm still close with their oldest daughter as well. My mentor from Rowan, Dr. Marnetta McIntyre, who worked in JPS, still working in JPS to this day. She was there when my daughter was born. In 2024, these years are getting away from us. I see the older I get, the more the time getting away from it. And so when my daughter was born, she was there because she said, I just want to be there to, see you, have your first child, was at my wedding. There are some other people who are still in my life, like Sharon Gill, who was at Piney Woods. And who really got me all the way straight, got me really together in high school. The things that happened to me early on as a kid, and the more I felt displaced having a family, those things, they affected me. I can't sit here and say those things did not. They affected my attitude. They affected the way I saw things. And so she got me together on that attitude because she was like, look, smart girl, you're going places, but your attitude is going to pull you back. And so I wanted to get in Camp Kids. Which was an organization that was sponsored by a camp. One of the guys out of Baltimore, he sponsored it and paid for everything. So you can go on college tours, and you got a monthly package for you to use for your dorm room. And so I did not get in because they said, your attitude not right. But if you come back, reapply, straighten up, we're going to let you in. I did that, and I've been on the right path ever since.
Ever since. That's the kind of story I like to hear and share with people. I have a lot of clients that are always saying, and I said earlier in my introduction, I am where I am because of hard times, people didn't treat me right. But it's about self, the way I look at it, no matter what happens to you. If you don't fall for those negatives, and if you have some inner desire, ladies and gentlemen, to do some things on your own, you just have to suffer, pray about it, and get up and act on it.
Yeah, it takes a lot of introspection.
That's
and
exactly
that
right.
wasn't the last time. When I became a lawyer, one of the lawyers, I was interned at her office, and we had a disagreement, a little falling out, but I understood perfectly once I started practicing and leading staff and doing things as an attorney in a leadership role. I went back to her, I talked, we apologized, we talked. We've had a great relationship ever since, and we always, when we get together, we always tell people our story about how we came to have a good relationship, but it was that introspection. So I always try to take introspection of
and that's the other thing.
That happen.
That's right. That's the other thing. Some people don't know how to forgive and forget, or just forgive. You don't have to necessarily forget, but forgive and move on and don't let it happen again. Now, with all of those experiences, now you are a sitting judge, getting ready to win again. And I want to know, after those 12 years, how did you determine, well, I've done 12 years, started off poorly. Now I'm doing well. I have more contacts. I've been building coalitions. So what gave you that interest now to sort of pivot in another direction and get on the bench?
Okay.
There had to be a specific reason for that in my mind. What caused that?
Well, sometimes in these races, there are people who go out and find folks and put them in races. That wasn't the case for me. My legal career has been a natural progression to the bench. My career has always been about me putting people first. Got my start at Morgan & Morgan, championing the rights of injured workers. I always have to say champion the rights because you have to be their champion. Insurance companies do not act right, period. If you sell insurance, you know this.
I don't say that now. I'm an insurance man. Say that.
Well, no, the adjusters.
Okay, now that's a little
The
different.
adjusters do
That's
not act right. They play hardball.
And that's what they're supposed to
And
do.
that may be their job,
Mhm.
but I always would ask defense attorneys, how would you handle this if this same adjuster were handling your mother's case?
Mhm.
You know, people want to be treated with respect and with
Okay.
dignity, and they want to know that you care about them. And so
Mhm.
that's what I did as a workers' comp attorney. So I doubled from being an attorney to also, you know, being a counselor, like someone they can lean on and talk to during those
Excellent.
trying times.
Well, George, let me tell you something. In just 40 seconds, we're going to go into another break. And this is so interesting. We're going to get back to this. And I see why you are what I call a forward looker. You had some great experience with that law firm, the greatest law firm in the world,
The largest.
the large, with more lawyers that made billions of dollars, not millions, billions. And I know you have some of that in the bank now, but don't say yes or no. So you've been very fortunate to have
Somebody
yourself.
go find that money for me.
I know what you said. And you have fun, but look at what you learned from that experience.
Oh,
Working
yeah.
with a big, or
I
I call
learned
it
how to-
heavy hitters.
Yeah,
That's right.
learning to work with people.
That's right. Well, now we're going to take a break, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be back with our attorney, Miss Demetrius E. Hodges.
Judge Hodges.
She want to be called Judge, and I don't blame her. If you earned it, you're going to get it.
That's right.
Tired, confused, and frustrated trying to find grants? You've searched, applied, and still come up empty? It feels like you're missing something, but you just don't know what. What if you had the right strategy, the right guidance, and the right tools? Now you can. Join Dr. Eldridge Henderson for a one-on-one masterclass in Grant Writing 101. Learn how to find real funding opportunities. Write winning grant proposals. Position yourself for approval. Turn your vision into funded reality. Stop guessing and start getting results. Call Dr. Henderson, 601-201-1957. Contact Dr. Eldridge Henderson today at 601-201-1957 and secure your spot in the Grant Writing 101 Masterclass. Your funding breakthrough starts here. Now back to the show.
Folks, I want to tell you now, you've heard me say for some time that if you're broke, that's your fault. Because there's a lot of public monies out there. If you think there's not a lot of public money out there, look at some of the court cases going on right now. The local, state, and federal governments have so much money, they give it to you just like air. Many times they don't audit what they give you until 5 or 6 years later. And here you are, you're rich, you have everything you think you need. 5 years later, somebody will come and say, you owe me $10 million. And you then have to go to court and say, I'm not guilty, and try to prove it. And then you get with a judge, and if it's the right judge, they're going to get all the evidence. They have something called discovery, and explain to the listener what discovery means when you're in a court case.
Okay. So usually the process when you come to court, which is what I explained to pro se litigants when they come. When I say pro se litigants, I mean self-represented persons, meaning you do not have an attorney. So when they come in, I always ask, will you be proceeding without an attorney? They may say yes, they may say no. If they say no, I explain the process of what we're going to do that day. Now, some are wanting to represent themselves from beginning to end. And so if there is a discovery dispute that comes up, usually the rules govern discovery disputes. And so really, as a judge, we want to give the parties as much opportunity to resolve their own discovery disputes as much as possible. Meaning, have you sent a good faith letter to opposing counsel or to the self-represented person? Have you followed up with a motion? Have you followed up with a motion to compel? And then it gets on the judge. It falls on the judge to determine, should I make this punitive because you have not actively engaged in discovery, or should I continue to give you chances? I err on the side of giving you chances, but we do know people do use the discovery process to play games in court. Those are tactics that, attorneys use all the time.
Right. I'm going to let you explain to the viewers and listeners what you think about being your own attorney or your own medical doctor when you have medical problems versus listening to the experts and paying a little extra to get yourself out of trouble? How would you explain
I
that?
have always in my career, and I don't use the word always often, but I have always told people, get an attorney. Those are no true words spoken. Get an attorney. When I was out practicing and people ask me different things and they were like, well, you tell me how to do it. And I'm like, no, I went to school for this. So I don't have to tell you how to do it. Just pay me and I'll handle it. And it will be done right the first time. Mm-hmm. Not after many tries. I see this a lot on the bench. People want to do their own divorces. That's fine. But under the rules, if you're going to represent yourself, you have to be just as prepared as an actual licensed attorney.
If you want to win.
Yes.
That's a fact. Now, I want you to go into a little more local detail as to, since you're in a sub-district, I want you to explain to our viewers and listeners the precincts that you are associated with so they know where to go to vote.
Okay. So in Mississippi, across the state, you're like someone asked me, why does it say District 5, Sub-District 3? Well, there are different districts for each court. Like our circuit court in Hinds County, they are District 7, but the Chancery courts, we are District 5. And then within those, within your circuit and your Chancery courts, you have, circuit court has more judges now. We'll talk about that later. Right. But in Chancery Court, we have still 4 judges. And so our district is broken down into 4 sub-districts. And so I represent Sub-District 3, which runs in the middle of the county. And so that will be all of Georgetown, all of West Jackson, the Queens, and some of South Jackson. So that's how people know if they can vote for me or not, if you live in those areas or if you vote in those areas. And then some people might want to know your voting precinct. So like that's Wells, right. Cherry Grove Church, Lanier High School, George Kirsch Gym, Raines has been changed to John Hopkins. You have your fire stations throughout, but one of the fire stations, the one on J.R. Lynch, you go next door to vote at the church because that has changed. You vote at Johnson Elementary School, JSU. Those students, they can vote in the elections for Sub-District 3. Blackburn, Hardy has changed to the Training Academy across the street. Your Police Training Center, Pecan Park Elementary, Pearl Street AME on the corner there, Jane Avenue, Blacks Chapel, Davis Temple, and Lake. I believe Lake, it may or may not have changed, Lake Elementary.
That's right.
But 4 of my precincts have changed.
Yeah, just for your information, I'm familiar with all of those areas. I don't live in your district. But suppose I would say I know at least 200 people in those districts. What would you advise me to do?
I would advise you to please tell your friends, your family, and even the people that lost in the card game to you that live in those districts to vote Judge Demetrius Hodges for re-election on Tuesday, November 3rd.
No, George. Now suppose that I get realistic and say, what's in it for me? That's what most people do when they work with politicians, preachers, and corporate leaders. Mm-hmm. What will I get from that?
One thing I always have to tell people as a judge, or as it was told to me, as a judge, it is a very much not so sexy position. It's like the sheriff, he can help people more so. He can help people in like an instant ordeal. They can call him up and say, Sheriff, I got a ticket. Can you help me? Me as a judge, you can't call me up and say, hey, Judge, coming to your courtroom today. I'm gonna need you to decide the case in my favor. I can't do that. I have to be neutral. And so what I always explain to people that a vote for Judge Demetrius Hodges for re-election is a vote for the safety, security, and stability of our children and families in Hinds County. And what that means is every day on the bench, due to my life experiences and my legal experiences, I know what it means to prioritize safety for our children, to ensure that they are placed in the best position when there is a custody contest, or when they are in need of a guardian, or when their funds have to be secured by way of conservatorship, or when they need to be adopted into loving, safe homes. I know all about that firsthand. Or when I say, I'm promoting security for our vulnerable adults, we have to take care of our elders. We have to make sure that they have good caregivers, not people who are there, have them, living in bad home environments, and then stealing their money. I definitely ensure that I fully vet those persons who want to step up and be their caregivers or be their, as we say on the law, their guardian and conservator, because we know death is real. When I say, providing stability for children and families, people do not know this often, but with Chancery Court, we hear state agency appeals. And so state agency appeals, those deal with people's livelihoods, such as when you have a license that you have to go before a board for your license, that's livelihood. Because if your license is challenged or it's suspended in any way or it's taken away, that means you can't feed your family. You can't keep a roof over your head. People need that. I always try to strike a very delicate balance with that because I know what it's like to not have resources.
That's right. Now, I just want to tell the viewers, just because you're a medical doctor, a judge, or a lawyer, doesn't mean that you're going to keep your license.
No.
Tomorrow,
right?
They can disappear.
Because you'll go before the board, and then after you've exhausted all remedies, then you can appeal to the Chancery Court or even the Circuit Court. And I've made some good decisions so far. Can't make promises as a judge, but I can say I've made some good decisions so far when it has come to persons' licenses.
Right. Now let's look at something we looked at earlier during our interview. Now we were talking about some of these early childhood experiences and caregivers. Now, can you think of any of your peers that were living in that war zone over there by the medical mall? That's what I used to call it. That had that same experience you had. And can you name 2 or 3 that were successful as you, or 2 or 3 that were not?
Well, I won't
not give the name.
Yeah, I won't name any of my classmates. But I've seen plenty of my classmates from Rowan Middle School, and they are doing just fine, and they are living the life that they want to live. It's important for people to know that you don't have to be in quote unquote important, or to have arrived, as people say, or be successful. You don't have to live up to the same standard as the person next to you. You have to live the life and follow the path that you want for yourself. And so my classmates have done good for what they want for themselves. Like one of my friends, she told me we were always tit for tat at Rowan, and she said I could have been just as successful as Demetrius, but that's not the path I wanted. She said I wanted a different path, and she's still doing well on that path. My classmates are doing well, and I love what they're doing. One of them, she has a cleaning business. We need people with cleaning businesses, period.
That's a money maker.
That's a money maker.
I guarantee you.
Yes, it is. I thought about opening up one of those early on in my legal career. I thought about getting my own cleaning business and just hiring some people, and we go and get the contracts for buildings. Those are good businesses.
And the other thing that people don't understand, a lot of people look down on you in those kind of businesses.
Right.
The other one, that what I call the collateral business, that's closely associated with that, is landscaping. I have a young friend. He was in one of my GED classes years ago. He's about 52 now. He makes over $200,000 a year cutting yards and lawns for small businesses, big businesses, and individual. And the good part about it, every month he does 3 or 4 senior citizen yards free. Now that is amazing.
Yeah. We stress too much about become a lawyer or become a doctor. I was like, when I heard about master plumbing, I said, somebody should have taught me about that, because I would have been great. I'm a woman and I'm Black. I would have been able to get some contracts, from the city or whatever municipality.
That's right.
Would have been able to get funds, because that's a good profession. I met a Black female master plumber, and I said, why didn't I know about this? People telling me to go to law school all this time.
Well, you made the right choice. I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah.
You make the best choice. I better say the best choice. Now let's look at this. You told us you had an education monitor, or what we call a mentor. And in order to get in law school, did you have you been able to get a professional lawyer to be a mentor prior to getting into law school or thereafter?
I did, yeah. She passed away, and so I didn't necessarily try to reach out and pick up a new mentor after she had passed away. I just stayed in close contact with a lot of female lawyers who had been practicing a lot longer than me. people I could call, ask questions, who didn't mind, answering my questions, answering my call. And also just women I admire from afar. I will watch them in court, see how they handle things, like Charlene Priester. She's been around a long time. And I remember the first time we had a case together, we were opposite each other. I called somebody, I said, do you know Attorney Charlene Priester? They said, oh, yes, we know her. And I was like, well, tell me more. But we went to court, we went against each other, and the experience was great. She was, she know how to put her case on, and me being at that time younger attorney, practicing less amount of time than her, but I put my case on, and I proved to be just as good.
Are you talking about those priestess over there in that executive place area?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm familiar with those folks.
Yeah,
there's about 3 or 4 of them over there in that office.
Yes,
I understand.
they're still practicing.
Still practicing.
One of the another female attorney who passed away, Felicia Perkins. She was known as being a bulldog in court, and we had a couple of cases together. We had wrestle in court, but those experiences, made me, a mini bulldog. Myself, going into court and chancery court, because you have to have a lot of grit in family law, because sometimes people focus on the tactics, not the law. And so that's why, as a judge, I try to make sure I'm faithful to the law and fair to all. And what that means is I try to make sure I see through all the tactics, try to ensure that parties get their day in court, because they are paying their attorneys to have their day in court. So I want people to be heard.
Now that is what I call a good way to look at it. Now, when you're looking at being a judge, man, I know that is a lonely job from time to time. When you are looking at a situation, the opponent is whipping up on the other person, and that is basically a good person, but they just made a mistake. And if there's something criminal involved, and they made a mistake, don't have the resources to get a good lawyer, and here they are stuck with 5 or 10 years in prison because they're going to do something else if they lose in your court and end up in a worse situation. How do you handle those kind of cases where it's just a good person just messed over, and they don't have the resources to win that case?
Well, first, we don't handle criminal matters in chancery court. Our friends across the street at the circuit court building, they handle those cases.
Right.
And of course, on the Constitution, a criminal defendant, he is entitled to a lawyer. And so that's where we have the public defender's office and other lawyers who volunteer to take cases at a reduced fee, so that they can be appointed to represent the defendants.
Yeah, see, what I was alluding to is they can get in your court and lose, and then they're going to go and do something else because they are angry or upset about losing in your court, and then get over there in that criminal sector.
Oh, so you're saying that in family law, if they lose, then their case will turn into a criminal
cases,
case.
I'm telling you from experience.
And sometimes
I'm telling you from experience.
Now, sometimes it can, because we do have domestic violence. Domestic violence is very real. I always try to, when people come and say, "Hey, I'm suffering from I'm being battered, or I'm being beat up, or these are things that are happening in my marriage or in my relationship." I've seen plenty of women come into court so far, and I've had some men come. And as a judge, depending on the circumstances I hear, I try to put in place a no contact order. And if I can put it in place indefinitely, I do, depending on the circumstances. One thing no one wants is to be driving down the street there at a light, and then all of a sudden their estranged spouse or ex comes out, try to grab them through the window and beating them up, and the children in the back, they crying. No children should have to experience seeing that, because that means the children then become victims of domestic violence as well, because they are the bystanders. They are the one who are looking on and seeing this bad behavior, this violent behavior being, placed upon their mom or their dad. And so as a chancery court judge, we do have the power to put in place domestic orders or protective orders.
Right. One thing I want you to address now, we deal with a lot of college and community college students, and a lot of young people that have finished high school and headed into careers and so forth. Now, share your information about the fact that there are a lot of people just don't understand what it takes subject-wise to be a good lawyer. And is there a specific major these young people that I'm talking about now, that's in middle school, high school, and college, ought to consider? And I want you to tell us why, if they want to become a lawyer and they're not at a school where they can take pre-law.
Well, you don't necessarily need pre-law to go to law school.
That's right. That's right.
I went to Henderson University, which is a 4-year liberal arts school.
That's exactly what we want to talk about.
And so I got a liberal arts education. And with my liberal arts education, I was always reading and writing.
That's the point.
And so that prepared me for law school. Also, while I was in undergrad, I worked a job off campus and I worked a job on campus. How I managed to have these extra days in the week, I do not know, but I get it done somehow. And I also, was in a sorority and had leadership roles. And so no specific major is required. If you majored in basket weaving, they will take you in law school. You just have to know how to think, know how to read, know how to write.
And know how to get out.
Yeah, and get out on time.
That's on time. That's what I always tell people.
Yeah, and Denison was notorious for that. Their whole mantra is you come in and you leave in your 4 years. There's no 5th year. If you try to get a 5th year, you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to really petition to get that 5th year. They didn't do summer school. It was always, let's get some real world experience. Let's study abroad, or let's have an internship somewhere, or let's work somewhere. And so those were great experiences I had. So I just sat on a panel and explained a lot of this to some students, letting them know that reading and writing is very important. If you're not reading and writing in undergrad, you're not going to naturally start reading and writing when it's time to get your master's or when it's time to go to professional school.
Yeah, talk to the reviewers and listeners about the importance of critical thinking, problem solving, negotiation, and self-motivation when they are young and in these transitional jobs that can't decide what they want to do. They're stuck in a major. For instance, you got a job after you finish social work school. You're not happy with it. Should you just stay there and suffer, or take a chance and go and really do what you want to do?
It depends on who you are.
That's what I would explain. Explain what you're talking about.
It depends on, how you're built. We always say, some people say, well, I'm built for this. Or people say there are levels to this. It depends on which level you're on and how you built. My sorority sister made me laugh when we were in college because she graduated, and me being me, I said, well, I would just take a job until I can get to the next level. Because when I was trying to apply for law school, although I was applying, I was getting rejected. And so I had to come up with a plan B real fast because graduation was coming up on me real fast. And so I said, well, I'll just move to Texas. I will go to paralegal school. I will serve as a paralegal until I get the opportunity to be admitted into law school, and then I'll move forward in that regard. My line sister, oh no, she wanted to go into HR. She had a 6 on it. I said, why don't you just work a job until you can get one? She told me, no, I will not do that. She said, I'm going to keep applying and I'll wait and I'll just live with my family. Everyone doesn't have the opportunity to just live with their family, but she did good. When she got that first HR job, it's been history. Now she's working for BP as vice president over in HR, and she's been doing very well for herself. She's had an opportunity to travel the world and have great experiences to share with her husband, her children. And so we two different people. I said, I want to engage in a plan B. And she was like, nope, I'm sticking to plan A. And luckily, I was able to not have to engage in a plan B. The Lord blessed me with my plan A.
But it's always good, I say, to have 3 plans, A, B, and C.
Yes.
Would you agree with that? You might not. You're so progressive.
No, yeah, I, 1 or 2 options is good.
That's better, but you don't think it's necessary to have 3.
No, too many options. It's like when you're raising children and you're trying to, like a young child, you don't get them too many toy options. You want 1 or 2. Like when you're interested in Montessori, they say you just give them 2 toys, and they will take the 2 toys and play with those and engage in imagination. Unfortunately, my baby chooses to play with a cup and takes a spoon and she serves it around. She pretends that she's drinking water. She's pretending that she's doing what she sees her mom and dad do when we eat dinner.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's excellent. Living by example.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very key. Your daughter is what, 1 year old or younger?
Yeah, she's almost 18 months. So.
18 months. And she's picking up good positive traits
Yes.
from mom and dad.
She's trying to clean up. So she sees me clean up. So she'll take a paper towel and tries to clean up.
That's excellent.
Yeah, or she sees her dad feeding the dog. She goes to the dog bin and scoops out dog food and try to feed the dogs. And I was like, this baby is really watching everything we're doing. At bath time, she tries to bathe herself because she sees me and dad giving her baths. She tries to wash her own hair because she sees me washing her hair.
See, that's what I want our viewers and listeners to see and hear, that there's a way to raise a family. And the best way to do it, from my information, is through example. A lot of counseling, fussing and fighting and threatening your children or whoever you have there is not a good way to do it, in my opinion. Be the role model. And you don't have to talk a lot. If you do and walk down the right path as a parent, always in a positive path, 90% of the time, those children will pick it up and they'll be a good representative of that family during their lifetime in most cases. Now let's look at something else here. Now, as a judge and a lawyer, and I want you to decide which one you want to take this in, I want you to give us an example of a case when you positively impacted the life of an individual or family, whether you were a judge or a lawyer. Can you think of one of those instances where you say, I know I hit point 100 this time?
This will be involving an adoption. A family came to me. I was working for myself as a solo practitioner, and some people had heard me talking on the radio, and they contacted my office and said, hey, I need help. I have a child that I've been taking care of for X amount of years, but the mom has returned and is trying to take the child back. We need your help. And so they came by the office. We talked. We got the case ready. We went to court. We won, but mom appealed our case. We won again on appeal because I ensured that I wrote a brief in response to hers. The judge's decision was affirmed. And guess what? I see that mom and daughter often. They helped me on the campaign trail in 2022 because I did a great thing for them. The daughter, she got to keep her daughter. Mom was unable to have children. And so her having this little girl in her life meant a lot to her. And I can concur with that. You know, I was a foster mom for a period. I wanted children in my life. And so I wanted to step up and impact lives of children like I was able to do for that mom with her daughter. Her daughter is following her footsteps because mom is a Zeta, and so daughter is a debutante and goes to all the Zeta events. So I'm sure she'll be a Zeta in the future.
That's an example that I like to hear about. That's right.
So though that was, every time I see them, I'm like, I did that. I put that family together. And even since becoming judge, there have been people who walked up on me like, you may not remember me, but I want to say thank you for what you did for me and my family. You know, I'm all about trying to bring us together.
That's excellent. Well, Judge, I want to tell you, we're going to end by giving you as long as you need, as long as you don't go over 2 minutes, to tell the people how to contact you and what you need and hope they can do for you during the few weeks left in your campaign.
All right. So on Tuesday, November 3rd, I am asking for your vote in support of my campaign for re-election. I am your Hinds County Chancery Court Judge for Subdistrict 3, servicing Georgetown, West Jackson, the Queens, and some of South Jackson. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve you, prioritizing the safety, security, and stability of our children and families of Hinds County. And I want to continue to build on the foundation that we have laid together. I want to continue to lead, guide, and inspire our youth from my position as a judge. And so I need your help. I need you to go out and tell your friends and family, encourage them to vote for Judge Demetrius Hodges on Tuesday, November 3rd.
Well, now, would you mind sharing, if it's not against the rules, a phone number where they could call you? Would you mind doing that?
I don't mind. If you would like to learn more about my campaign for re-election, Facebook, Judge Demetrius E. Hodges. Also, Instagram, Hodges for Hinds. I also have a website, HodgesForHeinz.com. So if you don't remember nothing else from tonight, remember Hodges for Heinz.
Now let me get to the thing that I like to hear. Do you have a cash app?
Yes.
Talk about that.
I can't talk about it.
See
I can't
that?
talk about money.
I knew you couldn't do that. But if they call us, if you don't mind, we'll share that with
yes.
the folks.
I'll
So
leave you the information. Here
please do
you
that.
are.
Okay, we want to do that because we've done the research. I know 473 folks in that district. And I just might talk to some of them.
Okay, well,
I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to tell them. So we got 30 minutes before closing, 30 seconds that I want you all to know, ladies and gentlemen, if you want the real news, I want you to think about one thing. Organize yourself, your family, and your community, and stop criticizing other folks. The world is about three things: yourself, your family, and your community. You are to determine your destiny from birth to death in those three areas. Take care of yourself first. When you get the resources you need, take care of your family. And once you get that family resources hooked up with yours and train your children properly, then you can get involved in the community as a volunteer and then get in politics and be a